Coach Warner and Coach Burgess coming at you guys again today with our next interview. Joining us today is Staff Sergeant Kristin Dodds. She is an Army reservist who is currently stationed in Lithuania right now. It is actually, what time there, Dodds? 10 p.m.?
9 p.m.
9 p.m. So she is 10 hours ahead of us. So she's kind of wrapping up her day, and Coach Burgess and ourselves are in the middle of our day, but we're really lucky to have her here.
Yes, we are.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I should call you Sergeant Dodds.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Staff Sergeant Dodds is from Wisconsin. And so obviously she's from the US, but she's stationed over in Lithuania. She gets to come home in a couple weeks. You've been away from your family for like 9 months now, right?
Yeah, July 5th I left.
Ooh, 9 months is a long time. She has two young kids. Liberty is how old?
She'll be 7 in July, and Benjamin's 5. So.
Oh, 7 and 5. So they're tiny. They're tiny.
Yeah.
That it is a huge sacrifice in and of itself. So we appreciate obviously everything that you do to serve and protect. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into the questions, if that's okay. Are you ready? Coach, I'll do the odds, you do the evens.
Sounds good.
We're getting slicker at this as the time goes on. All right, one of the first questions that they have is, how do you join the Army and what are the physical requirements? And then they were curious if there was like more than one path to joining.
That's a great question. And yes, there are so many different paths you can take to join any branch of the military. I took a very unconventional path. I actually went to college with Mrs. Warner and worked on the civilian side for just about 10 years and decided to join the Army when I was 31 years old. Yeah, a little different path. I had a career and just felt like I needed to do something a little bit more. And after some research, found that the job I do in the Army called Civil Affairs was the route for me to go to meet my goals. So that's one way you can do it is, at that point, I had already paid for all of my college, unfortunately, because you do get a lot of benefits by joining the military, no matter which way you go. You can join right out of high school and you can do active duty or on the reserve side or National Guard. You can go to college and join ROTC and have your college paid for that way. Then you have a specific commitment once you graduate from college. You could also go to one of the military academies, which is probably the toughest way to go. So there's really a lot of different routes you can take. And I would just suggest for anybody that's interested in joining the military, if they wanted to get my contact information from your teachers, that I could definitely answer some questions for you via email or try to put you in touch with somebody else that might be able to better help you depending on the path you want to take. But you're in basic training for 2 to 3 months, depending on what job you choose, and they will get you into shape. However they're going to do it, those drill sergeants will get you into shape. And basic training, I think in 2020, the last statistic I saw, there was a 92% graduation rate. So, they're really going to work with you to get you through what you need to do. The new physical fitness test is more focused on functional fitness. And if anyone's seen anything in the news about it, yeah. So CrossFitters do the best on it. They've found through.
Hey, that's my class. My class is
yeah. So they've found through just all the testing, and we're just in the initial stages where we're doing like diagnostic tests on it. But the test itself to administer to like our battalion is about 130 soldiers. It will literally take us almost all day to administer the test because of the different events and the functional fitness side of it and things like that. So it's a little more involved. So the old test, you had a different chance for your scoring was based on your age and your gender. This new test, your scoring is based on your job. So it doesn't matter male or female, you have to score. If you're going to do a certain job, you have to score within that, which I'm looking forward to that. I think that's definitely the route they needed to go. So
Another
we'll see
common trend
how
that
it
we
goes. I'm
found
gonna
through
take.
the different interviews that we've had. I know I'm veering a little off script already, but what was your aha moment? What was the moment where you're like, this is what I want to do? Although I've already been doing a career, and I've already had a prior life, and I know that everything that Coach Warner said in context, like I could be at a disadvantage. If you're, you and I we're probably peers as far as age goes. When I think of boot camp, the movies that I grew up on was like, nah, that's like somebody in your face yelling at you, screaming at you, calling you all kinds of names, and you just standing there getting spit all in your face or whatever. Or like, what? How did you come to the moment where you're like, this is what I want to do?
So just to tell you a little about my background, I grew up the youngest of 5 very athletic kids. I had 3 older brothers and an older sister. So I grew up being competitive in sports and pretty much everything else that goes with having older siblings, and played sports all the way through college, and just always pretty much stayed active doing something. So I got a job working with just a startup company, which is really popular out there. And at the time, we were already involved in the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I had been reading quite a bit about Afghanistan. And First Lady Laura Bush had some initiatives over there with Afghan women and helping them and working with different non-governmental organizations. And it just really tugged at my heartstrings. I started to investigate some different avenues I could go, whether that was working with like a non-governmental organization like USAID, or maybe joining a different branch of the military, or did I want to go like on the Department of State side, like DOD? So I just started looking into all of that. And at the time, my cousin's husband was an MP in the reserves, and he had been to Iraq and worked with some soldiers that were civil affairs soldiers. And he was like, you really need to look into this, because my college degree is in sociology and anthropology. And as I looked into it, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to join civil affairs in the Army, and I want to go to Afghanistan and work with women and children. And so then when I looked at the qualifications, so in addition to the physical qualifications, to get certain jobs in the Army, you have to take, to even enter any of the military branches, you have to take a standardized test called the ASVAB. And for certain jobs, you have to get certain scores. And civil affairs requires some of the highest scores. And I thought, at the time I was 30 when I was starting to go through this process, because I actually signed the papers on my 31st birthday. I was like, I have not taken a standardized test for over 10 years, if not longer. So I went to the bookstore and got myself a big fat book to study for this ASVAB. And every day after work, I would go to the coffee shop and literally study in this book, because I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I want to do this. And then fast forward, after I joined, 5 years later, I was in Afghanistan working with women and children there.
Our kids here, we have ROTC, and a bunch of our kids take the ASVAB too. And so this is so good for, our students to hear, because if this is something that they are interested in, really those programs and that test could like fast track them, into.
For sure. For me, I was so nervous, and I knew the only way I was going to do well is if I prepared. I mean, I may have still done well, but the only way I confidently could have gone in there the first time and gotten the scores I needed to was if I prepared and spent the time on it.
I've always been curious about this. We talked a little about boot camp, and obviously there's a huge front-loaded investment on preparing your physical fitness. And after you pass the test, is it like a big sigh of relief and like, I never have to get tested again? Like, are you guys tested for fitness periodically, or how does that work?
Yeah, you usually tested twice a year. And you also have to be able to, there's certain height, or there's certain weight standards for your height and your age,
Oh, okay.
which can be very frustrating. So they use a very, very old school method to do it. So that's another one of the things that they're looking at revamping, but I have a feeling that's going to take a little while longer. They still use the tape method to measure body fat. So, but yeah, so that we have to get, you have to do a physical fitness test twice a year, and then you get your, you get weighed twice a year. So, yeah, I mean, you're constantly, and the hard thing is like with the reserves is that it's up to you. You only meet, like when I'm not deployed, I'm only at my unit 1 weekend a month, and then I'll do one longer training every year, like 2 to 3 weeks. Other than that, any communication with my unit is on the phone or computer. So it's really up to me to have that personal responsibility to stay fit and make sure that I'm prepared for whatever we need to do, because when I'm at home, I could get a call and get called up within like 48 to 72 hours. So I won't, there's no time to, oh, now all of a sudden I'm going to get in shape. Like, you can't do that.
When you're on base, what's base life like?
So our reserve unit is actually in Green Bay, Wisconsin, not far from Lambeau Field, which is pretty cool. And it's not really a base. It's just, I mean, you can tell it's a military facility, but it's not what you would traditionally think of a military base. Like, it's just a huge building that in the back of it, we have a motor pool with all of our military vehicles. The inside is probably a little different than you would think a school would look like, but it's also kind of similar. We have classrooms that are like our company rooms where we meet and do training. But when we have to do bigger training and qualify on our weapons or do driver's training, a lot of times we go to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, which is in central Wisconsin, and that's an actual Army installation. And it's fine. Generally, if you're going to be at a military base in the States, it's pretty comfortable. We usually stay in barracks, like large buildings. It's all open bay, so you don't get your own room or anything, but most of the time, you have your own little space with your bed and can take a shower every night and things like that. When we go on longer training missions, like I've done training missions out in California, down in Louisiana, and then also in Germany. And those were longer periods of time where we were out in the field for anywhere from 5 to 10 days. That gets a little rougher. You might be sleeping in vehicles or small tents, like pop-up tents.
You have obviously an enormous athletic background. I'm jumping ahead on this one, Coach, sorry. You have an enormous athletic background. She won't say it, but she's a Hall of Famer at our college in both tennis and basketball, right, Dad? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you feel like your athletic background prepared you either mentally or physically for a job like this?
I think that physically, obviously, because I'm used to working hard and, when you're on a team and working together as a team, I would say that only being a team player is one of the biggest keys to being successful in the military. You don't always love all your teammates. You may not always see eye to eye with them, but you always have the same goal in mind, right? Like, you want to win. And it's the same with the military. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You want to find a way to make sure that everybody can execute whatever you're doing to their strengths so that your team can perform the best that they can. I also don't really enjoy lifting weights, but I'm learning how to do it because I know it's going to make me successful, come July when I need to. But same with, just the leadership you learn through participating in sports and on teams. That's the biggest thing I would say that has come in handy for me within the military, learning how to communicate to different people. You will work with so many different people from so many different backgrounds. Like, you have to be able to read them, know how to communicate. So those skills that I feel like I developed through playing sports have helped me a lot.
I wanted to go back to something that you talked about earlier. You said people who are in active duty get to they have the workout built into their day, like with the PT. And you as a reservist have different unique challenges in terms of living your life and, like, in a sense, like juggling, competing priorities, which is a term we heard earlier in a different interview. Does the Army decide your workouts? Like, is there like a program for you to follow, or is that just something you, like everybody else, you're in the wild, wild west of Google just trying to figure it out?
Yes, that's a good question. So it is up to each individual reservist or National Guard soldier to have their own workout. Now, you can also get trained to do additional duties. So we do have a couple soldiers at our unit. Their additional duty is called a master fitness trainer. So they can, if we go to them, they can, and they get paid to go to school. Like, that's the awesome thing about the Army. Like, you can get paid to go to school and learn this stuff. And then when you decide you're done with the Army, when your contract's up, you take those skills to the civilian world and probably make a lot more money, and you have no school to pay for. Right? And you're like good to go.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so those master fitness trainers will develop programs if we ask them to.
The kids want to know too, and maybe this is different when you're on base versus when you're off base. But we talk, a lot about nutrition and stuff too. They want to know, like, what do you eat in a day? And does the Army decide for you what you're going to eat? Or when you're on base, do they, feed you certain things according to a certain plan? Or do you decide your own meals? And I'm sure that's probably a mix for you since you're both on and off base.
Yeah, so during basic training, I think it's changed quite a bit since I was there 13 years ago. But when I was in basic training, they did kind of control what you ate in the sense that the basic training chow halls didn't have like desserts or soda, all of that sweet stuff. They just took it out of there. They didn't even allow basic trainees to like have a choice about it. But in normal like Army life, like when I said we go to Fort McCoy, they have a regular like dining hall there, and they do when you think about, like, if you've ever been to a camp or even like a hospital dining hall where you walk through with your tray and choose what you want. So they have a lot of different options, and they color code everything. And this is something new within the Army and probably the last 6 or 7 years, where they have a color coding system to say, like, this is the healthiest thing for you. This is maybe medium, and then like this is red, like this has the highest content of fat or whatever. There's always a salad bar and fruit and things like that. One thing I've probably focused the most on in the last, even since I've been here in Lithuania, but at least the last 6 months, was my water intake. So I'm drinking over 100 ounces of water every day. You can tell days where you're not getting that water, like I feel lethargic. And then the next day when I go to do my workout in the morning, and I know the day before I didn't have a lot of water, it's not a good workout. So that's my motivation to make sure I'm always hydrated. No soda. I don't drink energy drinks like Red Bull, Monster. The Army, man, we were just at the base nearby today, and they have shelves and shelves of Monster in their little shopette. And I'm thinking, these kids, like, you guys don't know how bad that stuff is for you, but they think they need it. And I just want to tell them, like, just slam a couple bottles of water. I promise you'll feel better.
What would you say the hardest part of your job is, your Army job?
Ooh. Well, other than being away from my family right now, when I'm home, I will say the hardest part is just that trying to juggle, like, that I might have an extra class I have to get done by a certain date. So I have to go to work all day, take care of my kids when I get home, and then work on my Army class after that. It's just trying to find the balance for all of that, to make sure that my life is still like I'm still enjoying things as well. And I would say that's probably the hardest part.
How many times have you been deployed, Dad? And to where? Twice?
Yep, this is my second time. So as I mentioned earlier, my first time was to Afghanistan, and that was in 2011 to 2012. I was part of a provincial reconstruction team, and I was located in eastern Afghanistan, and it was called Nangarhar province, and we just stayed in Nangarhar province. There were times I would go to a larger base in another province, but that was just really for transportation and things like that. My team right now over here, we cover the Baltic states, which are Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. We've been under a pretty strict lockdown because of COVID in all three countries. But Lithuania, I've seen not as much as I would have liked to, but we've been able to do most of our activities in Lithuania. I have been up to Latvia twice, which was really cool, but we never made it up to Estonia. So that was kind of a bummer, but.
Gotcha. Lots of unique experiences, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it definitely, like I said, there are so many benefits to joining the military. Part of me wishes I would have maybe done like ROTC or found a different path in and started earlier. But I also really appreciate the path I'm on now because I have a great life on the civilian side, and then I'm able to really enjoy what I'm doing in the Army as well. So yeah, I just think that if anyone is at all interested, they should at least explore it because it can open up so many opportunities. Like there's people, Mrs. Warner, that we went to college with that were doing ROTC in college. They're now graduate or retiring at our age from the Army as lieutenant colonels and starting a whole nother civilian job. So they're going to get their retirement from the Army, go work a civilian job for 20, 25 years, and then get retirement from that job. So it's just, you know, the financial benefits and the skills you can learn. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Yeah. We're ready for the speed round. Coach, there's a speaker in here that I got to turn off really quick because it's giving like some feedback in my meat, strangely.
Oh, good, man. We appreciate you coming out so late at night, man. I know it's you're like the third. One of the common trends that we've seen with the people we talk about is you're like probably the third out of four people would say like AM workouts, early AM workouts. Yeah. That's the only way you can get it done before the day gives momentum on you.
Yeah, and I found that, so I'm on a small team. It's just 3 of us, and we lived in a team house, and the gyms closed like not even 2 months after we got here. The gyms were shut down. And for me, like, I was like, okay, I'm going to do these like Beachbody on demand workouts, like Insanity and things like that, and run. And that'll be good for me. And I would get up every morning and do it. And what I found was the other 2, they like their afternoon/evening workout people. But what would happen is our day would start and things would change and things would happen. And next thing you know, it's 8, 9 o'clock at night and we're still working and they haven't gotten their workout in. I'm like, I'm good. Like, I did what, do you guys have a second? I have some of my gear out I can show you.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
So part of why you want to stay fit is, you know, there are physical demands to your job. Not so much here, but when I was in Afghanistan, we had to wear these vests. So this is like a bulletproof vest, right? And it has plates in the front and then in the back and then on the side as well. So one of these with all the plates in it is roughly like 30, 31 pounds. And I'm not a huge person, like at all. And so you add just, you know, I'm carrying around my regular body weight, then you add 31 pounds to it, right? So
and you still have to be able to do everything else that's required.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I was in Afghanistan, we were hiking in to get to these little villages. We were going like, we'd hike for an hour and a half with all our gear. We'd have to be carrying a weapon. Our helmets, you know, this will protect you from a bullet going through your head. This weighs 3 pounds. Try walking around with a 3-pound weight on your head for an hour and a half, 2 hours. if your neck and your shoulders aren't strong, you're going to be sore and it's going to be uncomfortable. And then where's your mind? Your mind is saying, I'm sore, I'm hurting,
Yeah.
I'm tired, right? And then you're not focusing on doing your job.
Yeah. I always hear about this, Coach, at the beginning of football season, because the boys suddenly they'll be like, oh my gosh, like my neck is so sore from my helmet. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy, not from not wearing their helmet, but you know, give it a few days. I always hear about it at the beginning of football season. And that's the only thing that ever made me think of it. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess. Like I wouldn't like wearing that thing on my head for an extended period.
Yeah.
Never thought about it until they complained about
and
it.
There's other equipment, like a full Camelback weighs 7 pounds. When you fill a Camelback with water, that's heavy. And then if you're carrying, like sometimes we have to carry just our assault pack, which is like a backpack, but have enough gear in it for 2 days. Well, then that's another like 30, 35 pounds. So then you add all of that up, you're carrying an extra like 76 pounds, 70-ish pounds, right? And it doesn't matter if I'm little and the guy I'm with is 6'2", 250 pounds, like I'm carrying the same weight as him and I have to do it. I can't ask anyone to help me. So that's part of it. Like I just, yeah, I do have a need to constantly prove myself. So that helps too.
All of it. And it's so common because I think I told you, you know, our police officer was a female, our firefighter was a female, and they both have that drive too. Like, and I feel like it's just part of being a female in like a male dominated, you know, arena. Like you just feel like you constantly have to prove yourself for sure.
Yeah, and it's not that anyone has ever treated me bad. I know that you could find stories, whatever, to support whatever thought you want, but I have only had positive experiences in the Army. I've never had anyone treat me negatively because I'm a female. But it's just, when I go back to saying I grew up the youngest of 5 kids with 3 older brothers, like that was in me from day one. Like, you want to play basketball with us? You better play basketball with us. Like, there's not, we're letting you win or anything like that. And so you just kind of have to show up or get out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Ready for the sport or for the speed round, Dodds?
I don't know if I am.
All right, here we go. I'm just gonna throw some questions out to you. You just gotta answer whatever comes to the top of your head very quickly.
Gosh.
All right.
Okay.
It's not too stressful. They're harmless. Okay. All right, here we go. Cardio or weights?
Cardio.
She's a runner. Yeah. Favorite exercise?
Well, running, but that probably doesn't count, does it?
It counts.
Yeah.
Okay. I also have gotten really into stretching. I know this is speed round, but I love stretching now. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Least favorite exercise?
Lifting weights.
Is it? Okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
I was waiting. I was gonna crack up, Coach, if she said burpees, because she would have been like the 3rd person in a row to say burpees.
I actually like burpees.
Oh, you are a sick individual, Dad.
Whoa.
I do.
Yeah. You really want to prove yourself.
Because I've seen the results, like what they can do. So
fair enough.
Big difference. All right, explore the deep ocean or outer space?
Ocean. Oh gosh, but I'm terrified of sharks. But outer space, you're just like out there. Yeah, so ocean.
Describe a time in your life where you were like, yes, this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Oh, being a mom.
Yeah. Kettlebell, dumbbell, or barbell?
Kettlebell.
Okay, second one in a row that said kettlebell.
Yeah.
In all of history, who would you want to go back and meet?
Do they have to be dead?
No, anybody, dead or alive.
Okay. I really want to meet President George W. Bush and his wife, Laura.
Okay.
So you did name drop Laura as giving you the motivation to even get this whole thing started. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just, that would be cool.
There's a couple of good books about their lives together, isn't there? I feel like I remember. A vacation on the beach or in the woods?
Beach.
Favorite place you've traveled in the Army?
Oh, here, Lithuania.
Oh, this has been your favorite place? That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, other than in the US, I've otherwise been to Afghanistan, which was not my favorite place, and Germany, and we only got to see one small town in Germany for a day.
Okay.
But I actually really like Lithuania. It reminds me a lot of Wisconsin.
Really? That's awesome. And last one is average mile time.
Depends on how far I'm going. So this morning I ran 3 miles and it was 8:26 a mile.
Nice.
Nice.
That's
Nice
fast for 3 miles.
That is.
Yeah, if I'm doing like a 6 or an 8 miler, I probably am like closer to 9:15.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's a wrap. I can't thank you enough. I mean, on top of just being able to see your face and be able to chat with you again, we honestly just can't thank you enough for doing the video, the interview with us, but obviously B, serving our country and just being the person that you are and your complete awesomeness. We just really appreciate you.
Thanks, you guys.
From Burgess and myself and all the kids at DO, we're just really thankful.
Can I ask one question? To Coach Burgess?
Yeah.
Has Coach Warner ever done her like Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura impressions for you?
No.
I still cry laughing.
I want to see it. Let's get it on tape.
Probably came out in far too many basketball practices. More than was necessary. Never more than necessary.
So now you know if you make a bet with her, what you have to make her do if she loses.
All right, class, you heard it. You heard it. Before this school year is up, we got you, Coach Warner, give us the Ace Ventura. Look, I'll put a little video of Ace Ventura up there first to kind of prep him for it.
Oh gosh, awesome. Okay, well that's a wrap, kids. All right,
thanks, you guys.
Hey, thank you so much.
And then if you want to stay on for a second, then we'll say goodbye. All right. You got it, Coach?
Yep.